Good evening, New Zealand. Leading tonight's news. Settling the past. Ngāi Tahu sign a deal to end a century and a half of grievances.
A large crowd gathers in Christchurch to celebrate diversity and reject racism.
And dogs that help those with disabilities to cope, including one dog who's given this man a new mobility.
Our top story, a major settlement for Māoridom. The South Island people Ngāi Tahu signed a deal today ending a grievance that began in the 1840s. Ngāi Tahu will receive $170 million under the deal. John Selwood reports from Takahanga Marae in Kaikoura.
The Prime Minister and Crown representatives were among more than 700 guests welcomed onto the marae to witness the historic settlement of Ngāi Tahu's treaty claim, a grievance that has spanned 7 generations of South Island Māori. It's taken nearly 150 years for the Crown and Ngāi Tahu to come to terms. The signatures on the settlement deed marking a new beginning.
Our whole identity has been built around grievance. And today we face the enormous challenge of deciding what Ngāi Tahu want to be as a people in the new millennium.
The signing of the Ngāi Tahu deed of settlement, not execution, Sir Deputy, settlement. We take an important step in healing the grievances of the past and moving forward to a new era of development and prosperity.
In cash terms, the deal is worth $170 million, but the 1,800-page document also includes the restoration of traditional food gathering areas and the promise of influence and control over places of importance to the tribe, in effect, recognition of Ngāi Tahu's mana. While there are still some dissenters within Ngāi Tahu opposed to today's signing, a recent postal ballot showed 93% in favour of a settlement which, according to the Crown, is now full and final.
Or I don't think there's any chance of them coming back for another helping later, and it would be very difficult if they tried because, of course, the legislation prohibits them going to the courts or the tribunal again on these claims.
Ngāi Tahu's leaders now have their eyes fixed on the future.
How should we dream ourselves to be? That is probably the greatest single challenge which we now have.
John Selwood, One Network News.
Further south, a significant discovery was announced today. Scientists at Otago University have found one of the reasons why people are born deaf. The work's part of an international study. John McDermott has the details.
Unlocking nature's secrets in a Dunedin laboratory. DNA analysis of human blood.
A hearing person in this area of the gene has 6 bands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a deaf person. Now, at the same region in the gene, this deaf person only has 5 bands. Because there is a band missing, that is the reason why the person is deaf.
An estimated 500 New Zealanders are deaf for the same reason. Ben O'Neill is one of 3 children in his family severely deaf. His father welcomes the discovery.
Part of the problem with deafness is that so little is known about some of the causes.
It means deafness may be diagnosed much earlier.
Because this particular gene is very common, it will be possible to do a very simple test for this gene. And so some families will know very definitely why it is that they have deaf people in their family.
The researchers know their work enables controversial genetic screening to avoid deaf children. It also challenges the way the deaf see themselves.
There is a danger that deaf people will be put back in the medical basket, which is something that they've fought long and hard to escape from.
The scientists will begin telling deaf communities about the research next week. John McDermott, One Network News.
In other news, school principals are getting a big pay rise. Secondary school heads are being offered a 9.4% wage increase. Primary school principals, 13.4%. But primary teachers say the pay offer is delaying pay parity with their secondary school counterparts.
In money news, the New Zealand share market was slightly down again today. The NZSE 40 falling on turnover of $88 million. The other main markets were up. The All Ords, the Dow Jones and the Nikkei all gaining ground. On the currency markets, the dollar fell against the Australian but rose against the greenback, the pound and the yen. And on wholesale money markets, rates on 90-day bills were down, while yields on 10-year bonds rose ever so slightly.
The Queen and Prince Philip have retraced their wedding walk along the aisle of Westminster Abbey. It was the start of another day of celebration for the royal couple's golden anniversary. Mark Burrows of Channel 9 has this report.
50 years to the hour since they were married, Queen Elizabeth and the Duke of Edinburgh returned to Westminster Abbey for a service of remembrance. 5 decades on, the wedding party was replaced by a royal roll call, including the Queen and Duke's children and grandchildren. And there too, the largest gathering of foreign royalty since the Queen's coronation in 1953.
Thank God for all they have given to our nation.
There was a roar of excitement as the Princess, aided by her husband, appeared and stepped into the glass coach for the drive back to the palace.
Emerging 50 years on, the Queen heads a monarchy bowing to change. No coach this time, instead a walkabout. After what's been such a traumatic year, many here are relishing the opportunity to celebrate some good news. Later at a people's banquet, the Queen lightheartedly marks some of the milestones of her marriage.
Think what we would have missed if we had never heard the Beatles or surfed the net. Or, to be honest, listened to other people talking about surfing the net.
At the newly restored Windsor Castle, formality was back in style at the anniversary ball, attended by no less than 7 kings and 10 queens from the royal houses of Europe.
Meanwhile, Diana's Memorial Fund is about to get a boost from the likes of Paul McCartney, Michael Jackson and the Spice Girls. The commemorative album features a collaboration of all major record companies and more than 30 top international artists, including New Zealand's Neil Finn.
Hey now, don't dream it's over. Hey now, when the world comes.
The double CD will be released on December the 2nd. All proceeds will go to charity.
In other royal news, the Duchess of York is reinventing her image in an American TV special, Adventures with the Duchess. It exposes the intrepid side of Sarah Ferguson, revealing a sense of adventure and stamina. Fergie goes rock climbing in Colorado and feeds sharks in the Caribbean.
Oh my gosh, look at them, they're amazing.
The Duchess says the challenges were therapeutic and the real test was conquering her fears.
Rather her than me. Coming up, the dog that's helped a man cope with Parkinson's disease.
And seeing through the clouds, a new weather satellite that hopes to predict the next El Nino.
Welcome back. More than 3,000 people gathered in Christchurch this evening to promote racial harmony. In recent months, the city has witnessed several attacks on migrants. But tonight, as Jane Jennings reports, many races gathered to protest against racism and celebrate diversity.
If you think about it, we were all boat people at one time or another. This is an occasion to celebrate our differences and to say that we are not going to let a small number of people, a tiny minority, poison the well of goodwill that exists in our city and in our country.
Christchurch is one of the last big Kiwi cities to experience marked population change. 86% of people here class themselves as of European descent, as opposed to about 75% in other centres. But cultural diversity is growing, and tonight it was showing. Racism's reared its head in the Garden City lately. Local media attention's pinpointed some attacks on migrants.
There has been some ugly incidences which we don't like, so that's why we're here.
I want to see different culture, and I want to see really a special occasion to really celebrate the culture.
The message from the Cathedral Square Vigil tonight is pretty clear.
The solution to the problem lies with each one of us. It lies in our hearts, it lies in our minds, and it lies in our actions.
And in Cathedral Square tonight, the solution was easy to achieve. A bit of toleration, some appreciation, and lots of enjoyment. Jane Jennings, One Network News.
In world news tonight, United Nations weapons inspectors are preparing to return to Baghdad after Iraq's U-turn on American weapons inspectors. Baghdad's school children marked the end of the 3-week standoff by chanting "Down with America," but the Americans will remain in the inspections team as part of the Russian brokered deal. Russia's also pledged to work to lift UN sanctions against Iraq, but the US says its troops will remain on alert in the Gulf and it will veto any move to lift trade sanctions. And the South Korean government is on the brink of applying for a massive bailout from the International Monetary Fund. The bailout is thought to be worth at least $70 billion, so big that it could affect the global economy. The South Korean currency has lost 25% of its value in recent months. The government will make a decision on the emergency loan in 2 to 3 days.
In tonight's special report, a penetrating eye in the sky. A new weather satellite is promising to provide the most accurate weather forecasting yet. The satellite is designed to look inside weather clouds and could help predict when conditions like El Nino will take effect. Barry Peterson of CBS reports on the joint US-Japanese venture due to launch next week.
This Shinto priest is blessing the rocket that will launch the most ambitious effort yet in the relatively new Japanese space program. A joint U.S.-Japan weather satellite that is a world first, able to peer inside the clouds, better predicting coming storms and giving clues about the mysterious weather phenomenon El Nino. It's called TREM, for Tropical Rainfall Measuring Mission. Normal weather satellites take a snapshot of the tops of clouds, and forecasters are left to guess what's happening below. TREM's new penetrating radar system lets scientists see all the way to the ground. Project scientist Dr. Chris Kumaro thinks that will give forecasters a lot more accuracy and scientists a much better chance to study El Nino.
Now, what TREM is going to be able to do for us is slice away through that cloud top and peer directly into the storm itself. So what we're seeing here is really the storm structure itself and the rain intensities underneath the clouds.
The first to benefit from the satellite could be nervous Californians, who may now get an extremely accurate 12 to 24-hour red alert before a storm strikes.
Will probably help somewhat in terms of being able to see the rain out in the ocean before it gets to California.
So watch out, here it comes. You'll see it first.
We'll see it before it slams into the coast.
But there's a bigger mystery scientists hope to answer. Why in some years and not in others, El Nino develops.
We'll be looking at the data very carefully to see if maybe the mystery to El Nino lies within the TREM data.
The long-term hope is that this new satellite may do more than just track the current El Nino. It could change weather predicting forever by showing scientists how to forecast the next one.
The world's only known surviving septuplets received an avalanche of gifts today, but the father of the Super 7 has reservations about all the attention. Channel 9 has this report.
The day after the stampede of little feet, Kenny McCoy faced the cameras, describing his reaction when he discovered his wife was carrying septuplets.
Just, oh, basically.
He's been overwhelmed by gifts.
A year's worth of free groceries for you and your family.
There's also free nappies and a specially built family wagon.
And here's the keys to the van.
Wow. But Kenny's determined his family must grow up out of the spotlight.
The big fears is that this does not turn into a big show. This is my family. That's what I want it to be, and it's just going to be us. And we're not on for display.
In this intensive care ward, his babies are still listed in serious condition, but are doing well.
It would appear that the babies are thriving on having a bit more space.
They are small, but they are well developed. They're chubby-cheeked and little chubby legs, and it's amazing.
The new McCoy van has seats for 16. So does Kenny want to fill all the seats with even more babies?
No.
Stay with us. Coming up, highlights from the second test against Australia.
And Lean On Me, specially trained dogs who help out sufferers of Parkinson's disease. afternoon. In sport, the Kiwi cricketers may at last have something to smile about. Rain delayed the start of day 2 of the second test against Australia in Perth, resuming at 32 for 1. For once, it was the Aussies under pressure. Kate Hurd reports.
A rather unseasonable Perth day seemed to have caught everyone unawares. 3 hours behind schedule, a new-look Daniel Vettori stepped out onto the Wacker pitch. But it was his opening partner, Jeff Allett, who was making his presence felt.
Beautifully bowled.
Matthew Elliott finally got one away.
Oh, well played. Good shot.
But it was fellow left-armer Shane O'Connor who struck first blood.
Oh, and he's gone.
Mark Waugh's first ball was nearly his last.
Oh, that's got to be over the...
Meanwhile, Elliott took to Chris Cairns. But not before Cairns had his say.
That's well bowled.
It took Mark Waugh a while to get off the mark, but he did so in style.
It's a lovely shot too.
Elliott caught it a half-century, but fell 8 runs short.
And caught at fine leg, so Chris Cairns with some thoughtful...
So Otago bowler Shane O'Connor has had a busy match. A short time ago, he had taken 2 for 38. He also took a catch to dismiss Australia's top scorer, Matthew Elliott. But since the break, the Waugh brothers have taken to our Kiwi bowlers. A short time ago, Australia were 140 for 3.
Now let's take a look at the weekend weather. And the sou'wester is still residing in the south, quite strong but lighter further north. Note a few light showers skimming the south and northwest coasts, but otherwise fine after a cold night. A chilly southerly sweeps across Cook Strait, tending northwest later. Plenty of blue sky over the north with a sprinkle of the showers in the northwest and on the eastern extremities. Winds are fresh west or southwest.
In the South Island, dress for a chilly sou'wester in Dunedin and Invercargill. A few showers to dodge too. Cold, clear skies open onto sunshine in Kaikoura, Greymouth and Christchurch with a cool south wind. Clearing in Masterton, Wellington turns on a beauty with a brisk northerly and 17. Windy with the odd light shower in Wanganui, Palmerston North and Levin in the sun after 7 overnight. Breezy but quite summery in Gisborne and Hastings, maybe a fleeting light shower for New Plymouth. Hamilton might catch a light splash too, but with lots of sun, Rotorua fine with 18 degrees. And the keen sou'wester drops a few random light showers on Whangarei and Auckland. Tauranga, brilliant.
Ahead to Sunday, more fine weather widespread, but note some cloud in the west and drizzle on the south coast. And on Monday, still a little cloudy out west, but plenty of fine weather through to the east and interior.
Finally tonight, a touching story about a man so stricken with Parkinson's disease he couldn't walk on his own, and a specially trained dog who has become the man's chief support and best friend. The ABC's Morton Dean reports.
The debilitating battle with Parkinson's has been a 20-year-long struggle for Lou Palmier, a former coach and phys ed teacher.
How you doing, Lou?
Lou, 65, is doing better now that he has Melik, his new friend and constant companion. Melik was trained here at Independence Dogs. Ordinary dogs trained to do extraordinary work, to help Parkinson's victims who suffer from rigid muscles and trembling hands. Dogs trained to help answer phones, to turn off lights, to open doors. Lou's dog helps to steady him, keep him from falling.
So just let her support you, feel the harness.
And most extraordinary, when Lou's legs freeze up, as they often do, when he can't move. Just a touch from Malik's paw, and almost miraculously, Lou is on his way again.
You're in charge.
Why that happens is still a medical mystery. Whether it's a dog or a human who gives that sensory cue to continue walking.
To depend on that dog for their balance, to break the freezing spell, is quite remarkable and enables them to do things that many of them haven't done in years.
And following his walk today, Lou was as happy as he's been in years.
So you got a friend there?
She's more than a friend. She's more than a friend, said Lou. She's part of me.
Great stuff. That's our bulletin for Friday. Thanks for watching.
One Network News returns tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock. From us, have a fabulous weekend. Good night.
From the people of One Network News, thanks for watching your world with us.